Thank you for tuning in to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast, a no judgment zone podcast that covers lifestyle, entertainment, news, and sports. Even though KC doesn't watch sports, but these are minor details. By the way, he reads tarot cards too. Yes, I really mean it. He reads tarot cards too. And now, the host you've tuned in for, KC Phoenix.
Welcome to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I, of course, am your host, KC Phoenix. And I'm doing, believe it or not, another sports episode today. This is, a lot. Because I barely do sports episodes. Barely. I'm trying to get back in the habit because I did kind of do them pretty regularly, somewhat. But the joke is, as you hear during the intro, is that I don't watch sports, but I still cover sports from time to time. I just finished doing the Floyd Mayweather story about Floyd Mayweather looking to fight in Dubai. For those who may not know, that's going on and in the works. I'm trying to, for those watching this, I'm trying to get comfortable in my chair. Okay, I think I got it. All right, I think I'm there. Okay, is this good? Yeah, I think this is good. Back to what I was saying. So, when I was talking during the episode, the Floyd Mayweather episode, I was like, I'm thinking about talking about the baseball lockout or lockdown or whatever it is. I was like, but I don't know what a lockout or lockdown is in baseball. And one thing I always say to my viewers, for my Firebirds who probably listen to everything I put up, whether it's the tarot card readings, whether it's the lucky numbers, the quick three, tarot, the daily thoughts, the regular news, wacky news, sports news, recipes, whatever I put up on the show, that they know I say quite often, if you don't know something, look it up. So that's what I did. And bippity boppity boo, here we are. So I have the Sun, the US Sun, because I typed in to DuckDuckGo, what is a baseball lockout? And then it gave a bunch of links and I was like, oh, okay, well, this one kind of said it. What is an MLB lockout? Here we go for those who don't know, because we're about to learn together, because this is my first time reading this article. Major League Baseball headed into a lockout on December 1st, 2021, after its collective bargaining agreement expired with no new labor deal in place. The ongoing feud between owners and the athletes union could bring major disruption to the sport, the like of which hasn't been seen since 1994. Here's everything you need to know. What is the MLB lockout? The lockout essentially bars players from using MLB facilities to train or even talk with their teams for as long as the deadlock lasts. I don't get it. Okay, whatever. It also leaves free agents or players who expect to be traded in limbo as new deals and transfers are unable to be signed off. Okay, got that. The MLB Players Association, MLBPA, previously said that the lockout was a drastic measure that was not required by law or for any other reason. However, experts believe that it's being used as a bargaining tool between the two parties who want to get a deal hammered out as soon as possible. On Wednesday, December the 1st, 2021, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred and the MLB Players Association released a statement to confirm that debate talks had stalled. Manfred wrote, "Despite the league's best efforts to make a deal with the Players Association, we were unable to extend our 26-year-long history of labor peace and come to an agreement with the MLBPA before the current CBA expired. Okay. Therefore, we have been forced to commence a lockout of major league players." Oh, I get it now. All right, I get it. It took a minute. Did anybody see a light bulb go off over my head? That's what. Okay, I was like, oh wait, what facilities locking down? What's going on? What's happening? All right, I get it. Now I went into this article because in the original article I was, glancing over on the site I usually go to for my sports stuff, sportingnews.com. It says, as lockout drags on, poll indicates MLB could be charting path to irrelevance. All right. Let's scroll down. It's been said that apathy is worse than anger. If that's true, MLB could be in trouble. We're more than a month into the MLB lockout with negotiations basically non-existent. Spring training reporting dates creeping closer, and lots of sports fans greeting it with a full-throated meh. If a recent poll from Seton Hall University is to be believed, a large chunk of sports fans looks at the lack of lockout progress not with anger or impatience, but with indifference. The survey of 1,570 adults last month found that 44% of respondents who identify as avid sports fans would be less interested in big league baseball when the 2022 season begins. That should strike MLB as a disturbingly high number. But even if the powers that be wave that away, there's another troubling revelation from the poll. 54% of the general public responded that it had no interest in Major League Baseball anyway. Even if you're an optimistic sort about baseball's current state, this sure seems like bad news for MLB's players and leadership. And the longer the lockout persists, the wider the path of apathy grows. We know from previous work stoppages, whether initiated by management, lockout, or labor strike, that fans tend to come back. Today, however, there is immense competition in entertainment, said Charles Grantham, director of Seton Hall's Center for Sport Management. These numbers are not encouraging and should be very concerning for a sport attempting to reverse a steady decline in ratings and attendance. The poll numbers match other evidence that paints a potentially grim picture, even with factoring in necessary caveats. MLB attendance hit a 37-year low in 2021. Well, duh. That was going to be a given. Anyways, with the average per game attendance falling for the 5th straight season, not counting the fanless 2020 season. Though a large share of blame for 2021 attendance can be levied at pandemic necessitated restrictions in the first half of the season, the drop is still plenty noteworthy because there wasn't a corresponding increase in home viewership, which was down 12% from 2019. And while some of that decrease was due to fewer broadcasting options in parts of the country, the fact remains that fewer people are watching baseball as a leisure activity, and the ones who are watching are increasingly older set. As of 2017, the average age of MLB Fans viewers was 57 years old, up from 52 years old in 2000. Compare that with the average age of fans in the NFL, 50 years old, the NBA, 42 years old, the NHL, 49 years old, the MLS, who is MLS? Major League, hold on. Wait a minute. Give me a second. Give me a second. What sport is MLS? That's what I was thinking. Major League Soccer. Okay, gotcha. All right, back to this. Where was I at? MLS. MLS 40. And it's clear that baseball faces a major challenge if it hopes to cultivate a younger and more diverse audience. But that would be the case in a normal year without a work stoppage. That these numbers exist in a lockout winter void of any good baseball news only emphasizes that MLB risk even more lost money in the long run, not to mention diminished cultural influence, if it continues to give its fans and potential fans reasons to find replacement entertainment. This is where the discussions usually get repetitive, with the usual suspects behind baseball's problems, each taking a bow. Long games, slow pace, dwindling on-field action, poor marketing, subpar leadership. But their familiarity in these debates doesn't make their effects any less real. This is a long article. How much more we got? Okay, good. Though MLB has had some wins lately, the Field of Dreams game was a hit. Oh yeah, I remember them doing that thing. I forgot what the whole full setup of it was, but I remember seeing a commercial for that, like one commercial for it. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Anyways, Field of Dreams game was a hit last August. Viewership was up slightly for the 2021 World Series, and streaming apps and digital platforms for watching games are growing. Baseball still has an interest problem within the greater sports and entertainment landscape. This isn't necessarily surprising given the ever-growing list of leisure options, but it's not nothing either. MLB has seemed to operate with an if we play it, they will come mentality for a long time, resting on decades of laurels and seeming to believe that its relative lack of spectacle, dearth of household names, and increasing cost of attendance would have little bearing on the sport's health or popularity. In other words, people will come, Ray. People will most definitely come. While that makes for moving film dialogue to tap into a longing for an idealized version of baseball, the sentiment hasn't been truthful for a long time, and it certainly won't have any basis in reality for much longer under our current circumstances. Though it's probably true that most diehard baseball fans will lose little, if any, interest in the sport they love no matter what. Keeping those people engaged shouldn't be the goal, especially when they tend to skew much older than the average sports fan. Getting younger butts in the seats and younger eyes to watch and younger brains to care is the challenge for the foreseeable future. The longer the lockout lasts, the longer MLB owners and players give us little reason to think about their sport beyond bemoaning its inability to get its act together. The tougher the challenge becomes. So how can MLB, both players and owners, reverse those poll numbers from Seton Hall? How much time is left before they become irreversible? The solutions are mostly debatable, but one is indisputable. They have to play the games. MLB must have a product to showcase. That means this labor dispute must end quickly so MLB and its players can make their latest sales pitch to millions of fans and would-be customers. There's plenty about modern baseball to love, but admirers can't become infatuated and fall in love if there's nothing with which to woo them. Any significant delay to the 2022 season carries big potential risk, from short-term revenue to long-term resilience. So it's best to have no delay at all. There may have been a time when if we play it, they will come was a reasonable operating philosophy, but we're certainly not there anymore. There are now other ifs to consider, including what happens if baseball slips further in the public's entertainment conscience. It's an outcome that would likely push baseball from importance to irrelevance. All right, so that's the article on that. I can tell you one thing that's probably taking up some eyeballs is the MMA with the mixed martial arts, because it's the thing right now. And the other thing is sometimes, and this is just my thought on it, you know, I guess you could say my intuition or my spidey sense or whatever, tapping into people, into the collective emotion. Due to everything, if people are wondering what I'm playing with my chain. Due to the things that have been going on in the world, a lot of people are looking for hope. They're looking for a story to inspire is what they're looking for. And if it is a fictional story, and even a non-fictional story, because there was speaking of sports, and I want to see the movie too, because it looks really, really good. It came out on Christmas Day, I think. It's called American Underdog or something like that. It was about this guy who was in the NFL, but he was older, and they were telling him that he didn't have a shot because of his age and so on and so forth, and then he goes on to play in the NFL. So, based on a true story. But I really believe that people are open to stories that are fiction, that are inspirational. And there is a ton of entertainment out right now with all of these streaming services. Everyone is a plus now, which I don't know who. Somebody needs to fire their marketing departments. Because if I were the CEO of a company and somebody was like, oh, well, we're going to call our streaming service this plus. I'm like, dude, really? Do you know? We have Discovery Plus, Disney Plus, Walmart Plus, Paramount Plus. I know I'm missing some pluses. I know there's at least 10 pluses that can be named. I'm sure some of you are screaming at the podcast right now, like screaming such and such plus. All of ESPN Plus, because ESPN has a plus too. You know, all of these pluses, like, really? But the point is, what I'm talking about is that there's a gazillion streaming services with a gazillion shows and content. Just like me, I have shows that I watch. Like, I watch Rakuten Viki. I watch a lot of Asian, like, dramedies and stuff, because I find them entertaining. And that's just me. And also I watch anime, because I love anime, so I have Crunchyroll as well. But, and also I have Hulu, because they had that special for 99 cents. I mean, you can't beat that with a stick. 99 cents a month for a year. So, hey, took them up on that. But for the shows that come on in Netflix, too, where you have something that makes you smile, that makes you feel good. Because that's what baseball was about. That's what really sports was about in general. You have to remember that. When sports came out, and not that I'm just the sports connoisseur, because clearly I'm not. However, I know a little bit about sports. And one thing I do know about sports is that when sports came into being, especially in the United States of America, it was something that brought people together, where it made people feel good. And there weren't many options where people could find entertainment at that time where you could get that feel good feeling by coming together as a group and cheering or booing, because booing happens too in sports as well. So, but you couldn't get that same, you didn't have any other platforms or venues to get that energy from, because that's all everything is anyway, is energy. So now that this energy is available on all these other platforms and all these other venues and stuff outside of baseball, which baseball is pretty much as American as apple pie, which is quiet as it's kept. I'm not even sure apple pie is an American creation, but these are minor details. I might look it up one day and we'll do that podcast for a different episode. I digress. But baseball is about as American as a sport can get. And it's just not the same anymore. It's not anyone's fault. Well, I take that back. There's a lot I could say. I'm not going to. I'll just say this. When it comes to marketing, you need to know your demographic. You need to know who your crowd is, who you're catering to, who you want to stay inspired. Because let me tell you something, and this is just business in general. This is business in general. So listen closely. It is less expensive to maintain a customer than to go out and get a new customer. Always remember that. That's business 101. It's always more expensive to go out and get a new customer. It's easier to maintain your current customers. So, piggybacking on that, You never want to alienate your current customers or antagonize your current customers just so you can get a few new customers in. Because if those current customers leave that have been loyal to you, then what do you have? Just saying. So yeah, on that part. So I will say when it comes to marketing and I don't want to say catering. There's another word that I'm looking for. Can I have a word, please? There's another word I'm looking for besides catering. Because I know catering is the main word, but that's not the word I want. I want another word. No, I don't want to use that word either. What's another word? Hold on, it was on the tip of my tongue. Really? Oh my goodness. It was on the tip. It was about to come out. It was on the tip of my tongue. Hold on. Let me see if it's going to come back. I feel like I'm doing a tarot reading. Okay, we'll do market. We'll take that. Market. Fine. Market. When you're marketing to a certain group, how can I say this? You want to make sure you're maintaining the current group and keeping them happy, but also bringing in the new group. But with your messaging, you have to make sure the message doesn't alienate either group, is what you have to do. The best message you can give is focus on the sport itself. I believe that the messaging where people in charge, and not just baseball, this has happened in basketball and other sports too, they were focusing only on appeasing one group, and they forgot about their core group that gave them their platform to begin with. But if you focus on the sport only and not on all of this noise outside of the sport, I believe that's when they will come. That's when they will come back. That's when they will tune in. Also, if you uplift the sport, that's the other thing too. I honestly feel like on a messaging part, and this is just me talking, you got, for those who want to check out by now, feel free to. But I feel on a messaging part that some things need to be revered. As in, just like I was saying, baseball is as American as a sport can get. It's almost like, obviously, I don't want to put it up there with the 10 Commandments or something like that. But it needs to be held in high esteem. And if you don't hold it in high esteem, where you're not talking about how great it is all the time, how can you expect other people to have an appreciation for it when you're not showing an appreciation for it? Just saying. You know, but hey, what do I know? That's all I got for this episode. You got 2 sports episodes today. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Until next time, be blessed.